you can try to recondition your mind and tell your mind to be compassionate. Tell your mind to be honest. And condition, and condition, and condition, and condition. But is it really in you? After 100,000 prostrations, or 5 rounds of 100,000, 500,000 prostrations, or 1,000,000, is it really in you? Maybe, because now you're using your body. But was that really conditioning your mind through thinking? The modern approach, intellectual approach to Buddhism, to Vedanta. No, it was using a body practice. So, Swamiji has said, if you have a person with a behavioral problem, greed, let's say, not compassion, greed, you know, are you going to change that person just by telling them not to be greedy? Tell them to think non-greedy thoughts all the time? Maybe 50 lifetimes, maybe 50,000 lifetimes, you know? Swamiji's idea was it's damaging on a person's psyche. This is where a lot of our Salhu theory comes from in Tantra. It's damaging on a person's psyche to tell them you must behave like this and this and this, while your inner mechanism, your energy is so discursive in your channels and out of control that you can't follow through with what you're being told. This is why Swamiji would say the modern religions of Judaism, Christianity, Islam produce so many spiritual schizophrenics, we call them. Because you're being told by a God outside yourself, who, by the way, can kill you forever. Not just get it over with, but make you suffer forever, right? That's a pretty scary penalty. So that God, who you know gave 10 rules that you have to follow, and now they're trying to make everybody in the world follow those 10 rules from some God on the outside. Don't follow them, burn in hell forever, suffer forever. It's a long time forever. So very scary. So I think, well, I've got to follow those rules, but inside that being, there's still a human being with a body and channels and bindus and chakras and past karmas, and I don't care if that religion recognizes it or not. The person is not going to be able to follow those things. So the Catholics knew it, and they created confession, you know. And the Protestants knew it, and they created just scream, "Save me, Jesus, I love you, hallelujah, and I'm all better again," you know. So they created some ways to take the pressure off, the pressure valve all the time. But they never created a real way to transform yourself, because they never approached the human being in its totality of channels, chakras, and how that produces tissues, and that produces your mind, which produces behavior. So Swamiji would say, look, it's unnatural and it's damaging to ask a person to live a lifestyle that their body and energy system is incompatible with. So first, if that person wants to be compassionate, if that person wants to have these higher virtues that we know about in yoga and tantra, then we first must work with the body and energy complex. When we work with the body, energy, mind complex in Hatha Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, Tantric practices, even frustrations, even puja and ritual, these are all working bodily, energy, speech, imagination. When you do that, there's a transformation. When you rectify the channels, when you rectify the chakras, when the bindus are circulating correctly, you don't get lost in any of the 6 realms fixations of your mind or consciousness or energy. You don't get possessed by other world beings. You don't get influenced by other world beings that are negative. You don't get influenced by your friends who are negative, or by society's advertising that's negative. And then you can properly hear a Dharma teaching. Right? Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. I can hear it first, Shravana. I can think it over, Manana. I can then mull it over and put it into practice, Nididhyasana, right? So if you don't have the proper fertile soil and you throw a seed in, nothing happens. The teachings are like seeds, that's all. So the fertile soil is your body, mind, energy complex. If you're practicing Kundalini Hatha Yoga in the traditional way, the human being is coming into a harmonious relationship with themselves, you know, energetically, their different energy components become harmonious, and then congruency with greater cycles of nature, of time, space, and nature occur, time, space, and energy. Now, when greater congruency of time, space, and energy between you and the world, remember analogical thinking in Tantra, occurs, and you're informed by these greater cycles, you become good, morally good, ethically good, naturally. This is what the whole promise of Tantric Yoga is. Why I think Salhu has to get into every rehab clinic in the world ASAP. Because people go through rehab, come out and fail, go through rehab and come out and fail, because they have not been restructured in their energy, in their tissues, in their body. Every rehab clinic should have a Panchakarma section with master Panchakarma practitioners. They should have Tantric Yoga and Acharyas from our lineage in there, teaching them how to transform themselves with Kundalini Hatha Yoga, right? With ritual, with mantra, and so forth. People would come out and stay with the program, like they did in Yogi Bhajan's experience with his Kundalini Yoga phenomenon. He started in LA and New Mexico and Arizona. Most of his early adherents were drug addicts who changed, had a permanent change, because they were applying the same kind of idea, right? So, my early Taoist teachers were doing this. They weren't thinking about compassion, they weren't having to generate it, they weren't having to do compassion mantras, nothing. It was so natural because they were following Taoist yoga. They were getting up at a certain time, going to sleep at a certain time, eating meals that were balanced in their composition to balance the 5 elements. And, different 5 elements by name, but it's the same idea as ours, as the Indian. And I saw this. So they became natural, and as they became natural, learned how to relax through all the Qigong they did, spiritual Qigong, rituals, living this lifestyle, eating correctly, right? Living a harmonious life. They became this, because this is the point. We actually are this. We really are this inside. We are beings of sweetness and compassion and generosity, and we know good from bad, ethically and morally, and so on. But when our energy channels are messed up, then we can't actually get to that. Nice, limited. Okay, right? So this is one of the biggest differences between Buddhism and ancient Tantra, ancient Taoism. And the Buddhist tantrics in Tibet sort of straddle both experiences. They're very Buddhist in some ways. Their practices are very tantric. But their idea of proselytizing and the idea of powering on and transforming, is very Buddhist. They're losing more and more of their tantric yoga as time goes by, which is sad, the body practice.